Greetings all, welcome to lesson 11. Today we are going to talk about simple trend reversal pattern called head and shoulder. Now in the last video we saw how swing high and swing low help us understand about trend and its reversal. On similar grounds, head and shoulder is established. Let us understand this concept in detail. So head and shoulder pattern is a reversal pattern. It consists of a head and two shoulders. Just like we as a human, it basically has three tops. The first and the third top are shoulders and are of same length like our shoulders. Similarly, the second top, that is the middle top, is the head and is of the highest top. All the three tops have same common line called as base line or support line. Now head and shoulder is a bearish pattern. It forms after an extended uptrend. It marks the end of an uptrend or bull run and marks entry of bears or a start of the downtrend. The baseline is also called as neckline. Just like we as a human has a neck, similarly the line, the support line here is called as neckline. Let us understand this concept in detail. Consider the stock is going up. In an uptrend, it goes up and comes down, creating a top. We discussed in the previous class what is swing top and swing bottom. So let us say it creates a top and then comes down and goes up again, creating a high higher than the previous high. So this is another top, T2. And then it comes down to almost same length as the previous time, or it rather takes a support here basically, and then goes up again to create another top which is of almost same length as the first top. So this is called as a head and shoulder pattern. The first top, this first top is our shoulder one. The third top is also our shoulder 2. Now in between is a head which is having the highest top. It is called as head. The shoulder 1 and shoulder 2 are of almost same length, and the line, the support line which is connecting all the three tops, shoulder, head and shoulder, this is called as your neckline. Now if the third top, that is the second shoulder goes below the neckline, we say that head and shoulder pattern has given a breakout. Now below this neckline or below this support line, we usually short, and the difference between head and the neckline, the difference between head and neckline is your downwards target. The stock is expected to go down by almost same extent. For example, if the neckline is at 100 and head is at 120, then the stock is expected to go down by 20 points to 80. So you short below 100 or below the neckline and your target is 80 and the stock is expected to come down. Now for others who are just seeing head and shoulder pattern, for them it might be a new concept, but for us who have already seen how higher high, higher low, lower high, lower low and swing pattern establishes, for us this is a common pattern. Why? Because in the first half of the pattern we had higher high, shoulder 1 and then head are forming higher high. So this was a higher high pattern, but then the shoulder 2 is forming lower high, and then when this first low is broken here, so it is set to create lower low. So lower high and lower low marks a downtrend, because of which once the neckline is broken, we short. So head and shoulder pattern is basically a modification of swing high and swing low pattern itself. Now, those who do not know about swing high and swing low pattern, they might find head and shoulder very interesting, but for us it is just an extended version of swing high and swing low. Now this neckline can be inclined as well as declined. Let me explain you a few other examples of head and shoulder. This was the basic example of head and shoulder where the neckline is horizontal, whereas say the stock is going up like this, going down, creating another head and then creating another shoulder. Now what will happen here is that for the first shoulder, this is your support and then here we have head, and for the second shoulder the support is a little bit upwards. So if we join these lines, then your neckline becomes inclined. This is your inclined neckline, and if the stock goes below this inclined neckline, then also the difference between head and the neckline is your downwards target. However, an inclined neckline is a weak signal, because the next low, this low is higher than the previous low, so we still have higher low concept intact, so it is a weak signal. However, if the head and shoulder pattern is something like this, say we have shoulder 1, head, and then shoulder 2, where this is your shoulder 1, this is your head, this is your shoulder 2, and you have a support here and a support here, and if we join them, then the neckline becomes declined. The declined necklines are comparatively stronger, or I can say the strongest pattern, because here this low is lower than the previous low, so lower low is established, and this high is also lower than the previous high, so lower high is also established, so a clear indication of downtrend. So among the head and shoulder pattern, declined neckline based pattern is the strongest, horizontal one is moderate, and the inclined head and shoulder pattern is weakest pattern. So I can say that this pattern just which we have drawn is the strongest head and shoulder pattern, because here not only it is forming head and shoulder, but also it is forming lower lows and lower highs. Let me show you this by a simple example. So here I have a chart where I have marked all the things. I'll just explain you. So this is our first shoulder, shoulder 1. This is your second shoulder, shoulder 2, and in between is your head. So you can see this pattern is something like this, and we just marked the support line between these two shoulders, so it has become inclined. Inclined are usually the weakest, but however here it has worked very well. We mark the difference between head and this line, the neckline. This is your neckline, and the same distance we plot after the breakout of the neckline. So we basically sell somewhere here, and the difference between neckline and head is projected downwards, and you can see stock has exactly hit our target. Similarly, on the charts you can find horizontal head and shoulders as well as declined head and shoulders also. Similarly, we have inverted head and shoulder. Now, as the name suggests, inverted head and shoulder is exactly opposite to head and shoulder. Here we have three lows. The first and the third low are inverted shoulder, and the second low, that is the middle one, is the inverted head, and the inverted head is the lowest low among this pattern. Here also we have three lows that has common baseline, also called as resistance line. Now this pattern is formed after an extended downtrend and marks the end of the bearish phase and signifies bullish trend is about to start. The baseline is also called as neckline. So let me explain this pattern to you with a simple example. Say the stock is going down like this, coming up, going down again, coming up, and then going down again and trying to come up. So here you can see that the first low is your shoulder 1, the third low is your shoulder 2, and in between is your head. So this is an inverted head and shoulder, and the line joining these two shoulders is your resistance line. This is your resistance, also called as neckline. Now if this resistance line is broken, or if this neckline is broken, we buy above the resistance, we buy somewhere here, and the difference between neckline and head, is your target, which is projected upwards. Say if your resistance is at 100 and your head is at 80, then the difference between these two is 20 points, which is projected upwards. So 120 is your target. So you buy above 100 and the stock is expected to reach to 120. So this is a pattern of inverted head and shoulder. Now again, for beginners it might look very interesting pattern, but those who know swing high and swing low, for them this is a simple example of lower lows and lower highs getting converted into higher highs and higher lows. You can see that this is our first low and head is our second low, so this is basically lower low. However, in the second shoulder, with comparison to head, we have higher low, and when this high is broken, when the resistance is broken, we have chances of higher high. So now lower low is converted into higher low and higher high, so an downtrend is converted into uptrend, and that is why we are expecting the stock to go up. Now this is an example of horizontal neckline. Just like head and shoulder, in inverted head and shoulder also we have inclined neckline concept and a declined neckline concept. Now let me explain that to you with a simple example. Say the stock is going down, coming up again, going down, and then coming up again. Now here you can see that shoulder 1 and shoulder 2 are of same length. However, if you try to match the neckline is declined. So declined neckline represents lower highs, and compared to head and shoulder 2, it is trying to form higher low, but the highs are lower high. So this is a weak concept or weak inverted head and shoulder. However, if the head and shoulder pattern is something like this, where you have shoulder 1, shoulder 2 and head, and the line joining shoulder 1 and shoulder 2 is inclined, then you know that this high and this high are forming higher high, and the head and shoulder 2 are forming higher low. So this is a clear or a strong indication of uptrend. So inclined inverted head and shoulder is a strong or the strongest inverted head and shoulder pattern. Remember, in head and shoulder, declined pattern is the strongest. In inverted head and shoulder, inclined pattern is the strongest. Let me explain this to you by a simple example. Now here I have a inclined head and shoulder pattern. This is your shoulder 1, shoulder 2 on same length. Let me mark it as 1 and 2. In between is a head. Now the line joining shoulder 1 and shoulder 2 is inclined neckline. So it is a strong head and shoulder concept, and the difference between head and neckline is marked. The same is projected after the breakout, and you can see after the breakout stock has reached our target. So this is how you mark inclined inverted head and shoulder and take trades accordingly. Similarly, you can also find charts of horizontal head and shoulder and declined neckline based head and shoulder. So this was it about head and shoulder. In the next lesson, we will learn about candlesticks in detail. We'll start with introduction to candlesticks, talk about patterns like Maruboju, Doji, Hammer, Shooting Star, and lot more, and understand the complete psychology of candlesticks. So thank you so much for watching this video. Spread the knowledge because it's free, and if you like our video, do like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.